In our last video, we have discussed that course learning outcome need to be student focused. It need to be measurable and it should covers a different learning domain. I believe that you have a lot of question mark in your mind right now. For example, you might want to ask me, how many CLO should I develop for my course? What domain should I map for my course learning outcome? Cognitive, psychomotor, or affective? What are the components that I need to include in my course learning outcome statement so that it can consider as a good learning outcome? All your questions will be answered in this video. In this video, we will be explain about the good characteristics of course learning outcome. So in this video, you'll be able to identify what are the good characteristics of course learning outcome. The first questions that most of the time you'll be asking is that how many CLO should we set for each of our course? Normally, we'll have around 3 to 5 major outcomes or course learning outcome for each of the course or each of the subject. However, this should not be the rule of thumb for you to refer when you want to design the course learning outcome for your subject. You should understand better why 3 to 5 learning outcome will be best for a typical course. So to understand this, first thing you need to recall about students' learning time. Okay, student learning time. We must allocate sufficient students' learning time for the students to achieve each of the CLO. So how many students' learning time that normally we will be stipulated for a particular course? So if you according to the NQA rules and regulations, for course, every credits in the course is equals to 40 hours of students' learning time. So if you have 3 credit for your course, then the students' learning time should be at least 120. Similarly, if you have a 4 credit course, then the students' learning time should be 160 and so on and so forth. So let's take 3 credit course for example. So if you are running a 3 credit course, you have 120 students' learning time. So then, how many course learning outcome should you design for this 3 credit course? A very good general rule of thumb is that we can use 1 credit equals to 1 CLO, which means that we assume that for the students to achieve 1 CLO, it needs 40 hours of students' learning time. So 1 credit equals to 1 CLO. If you have a 3 credit subject, 3 CLO will be the minimum for you to prepare for this course. And it will be one of the general guideline for you to determine how many CLO is needed. Of course, you have to refer to your body of knowledge as well. You have to refer to your program standard and determine what are the subtopics that you need to cover within that particular course. And depends on the number of topics, then you have to design and think how many hours the students needed to complete understand the topic. Yeah. So by having more topic to cover, a more lengthy body of knowledge, then definitely you need more time, and perhaps you can allocate or design more course learning outcome. So back to simple, you just imagine that 1 credit is equals to 40 hours of students' learning time and equals to 1 CLO. So you have 1 credit, you have 3 credit subject, then you might need to have 3 course learning outcome to cover all the body of knowledge. Okay, so this could be one of the general rule of thumb for you to decide how many CLO is needed every time for you to design your course. Then the second questions that you need to think about is that for each of the CLO that you're trying to map, what are the learning domain that it should map to? So basically, we have 3 types of learning domain over here. Cognitive, which involve knowledge and the intellectual skills development. Psychomotor, where you focus on motor skill that require physical coordination. Or affective, where you want to relate it to interest, development of attitudes and values to the learning of the information. So for each of the learning outcome, it can be mapped to any of these learning domain, whether you want to do it in a cognitive, psychomotor, or affective way. Then, how many components do we have in a CLO? Means that in any particular of the CLO statement, how many components that we should have inside. So in general, a CLO will have these three components. The action verb, which is based on the Bloom taxonomy. We will have the condition. We will have the standard. Is it necessary to identify or use all these three components in a CLO statement? The answer is no. Yeah, not necessary. You must have V, C, S appear together in any particular CLO statement. However, you must have at least two components in every of your CLO statement. For example, you must have V plus C or V plus S. It's something that you must have in any of CLO. Minimum two components with V as the mandatory. Okay, so how to determine what kind of word or V that you need to use? We will have a separate video later. The next video will explain to you how you can determine what action verbs to use and how you can write the condition and standard. Okay, so like for example, you look at this particular CLO over here, yeah? So this CLO means that at the end of the course, the students will be able to perform a multiple regression analysis using a statistical software based on structural equation modeling principle. Okay, so you can see that this CLO will be a good CLO where it has all the three components together. V, which is the perform, the verb, action verb. C is a condition over here. Perform multiple regression using what? Statistical software. And then, based on what standard? Structural equation modeling principle. So if we go back again, the action verb will determine what type of behavior to display. So in this case, we want the students to perform a multiple regression analysis. Yeah. Then, the condition will spell out under what context which the behavior is to occur. Yeah. So we want the students to perform multiple regression using a statistical software. It could be like SPSS or Excel, right? We want them to use a specific software. This is a condition that we have spelled out. Yeah. The context which we want the behavior to occur. We want the students to be able to perform multiple regression analysis by using the statistical software. What are the standard? Yeah, what are the accepted level of performance based on the SEM principle? This would be the standard. Yeah, the standard basically spell out the level of performance that you are expecting. They might be using SPSS or Excel to perform the statistical software. If they want to do structural equation modeling, they might need to use another higher level of software, like for example, Amos SEM or PLS SEM, something like that. Okay, so if you're familiar with statistics, you will know all these terms, the statistical software that you can use. So you can see that by looking at this CLO, I know that I want my students to be able to perform multiple regression analysis using a statistical software. So based on the structural equation modeling principle. So based on the standard that I have stated, I know that if the student use SPSS or Excel, they might not be able to meet the standard because I want them to base on the structural equation modeling principle. In order to achieve that, they need to use a higher level of statistical software, such as the Smart PLS or the Amos or Listrail to perform the multiple regressions analysis. So this is a thing how we can differentiate the level of standard. I would say that this CLO will be more appropriate for master level because I do have stated the standard. The standard is quite high. Maybe it's not appropriate for degree students. So how I know this? Again, when you design a course learning outcome, you should refer to your BOK, body of knowledge. If I'm going to do it for the degree level, I might remove the standard. So I might stay with my program, course learning outcome, to perform a multiple regression analysis using a statistical software. I will stop here without having the standard inside. So then the students can use any of the statistical software like SPSS, Excel, yeah, to do the multiple regression analysis. This is for the degree level. So you can see that by playing with the verbs, the condition, and the the standard, you'll be able to differentiate the level of learning, yeah, the level of learning that you want your degree students to demonstrate and also your master students to demonstrate. Okay, so this is how important to know the components in a course learning outcome clearly, so that you can design the right CLO for the right level of learning for the type of students. Yeah. Okay, then how the CLO should be phrased. So the CLO should not be written using bombastic language. The CLO should be written in the most simple way as possible, measurable, and in future tense. Okay? Remember, your CLO need to be communicated to your students. You must write in such a way that it is simple, that can be understood by almost everyone with different background. Yeah, that will be the best CLO, and that is measurable. Okay, so this is how your CLO should be phrased. Then the next question that you might ask, what are the consistency issue I need to take note when preparing a CLO? You have to first be aware that whether the courses that you are going to teach, is it shared with others program? Right? Is it a shared program across the university or across the department or across the school? Okay, so like for example, MPU. MPU is a subject that basically shared across the university. Everyone's taking the same MPU should have the same CLO. Okay, so you need to make sure that all this outcome is same across all the courses under the same code, which means that we only have one subject code with one set of CLO. You should not have a different subject code with different of CLO, but students will be in the same class, having the same set of learning experience and same set of teaching and delivery by the same lecturers. Okay, so this is something that you should understood. If the students is combined together under the same course, then the CLO should be the same. Okay, and you should understand that each CLO should be mapped accordingly to your PLO as well. Yeah, so you should not have any CLO left unmapped. So this is something that you need to be avoid. So all CLO need to be mapped towards the PLO. Okay, so the next topic we will be learning about the level of learning.